Hello gamers, Mucklick here, and today we're doing another episode of I Tried, where I try something that I don't usually main to see how it feels and is the grass greener on the other side. Today we tried Gailshot. Now, I'm just gonna do like a forewarning at the beginning. I have made no secret of the fact that I'm not really fond of this class, because they said that they didn't really like archery on the Ranger, so instead of fixing the longbow or the short bow or the marksmanship trait line, they gave us a third bow. So I kinda feel like I really missed out on getting a new elite spec in this expansion on my most played class, because instead of fixing a problem, they just gave us a like nether solution. So I still have the bows they considered bad and a new one, instead of fixing the others and then giving us like a new interesting spec. However, I've said it, I'm gonna set that aside and let's try to grade this for what it is. So, the Gailshot. It's basically an archer. You've got a special action key type thing here that summons the air bow. So you've essentially got a third weapon. Now, you might think that this gives you the freedom to now bring more melee weapons because you'll always have a ranged weapon in your back pocket, but it really doesn't, because a decent chunk of your damage comes from a skill called Mistral. Mistral makes this bubble, and when you shoot through the bubble, it enhances your projectiles. It buffs them with ice. So we are going to just do this really quickly here. And I am going to wail on the golem for just a few seconds to just show that I've got a decent understanding of the rotation. So without further ado, and do that, and that, and this, and this, and this, and this. This, and now I need to wait for one more of those arrows. There we go, and boom, Hawkeye again. I should have been more zoomed out. And then we can go through the rotations again, and do that, and okay. So at this point, we're cycling. We're currently at 32K, and there's one more 64K shot for good measure. All right, so 32K DPS. Okay, so the best nerds in the world on Snowcrows at the time of this recording are getting up to 41K with quickness providing Gailshot. I forgot to say that. I'm currently in the quickness providing version. I am providing the quickness. These other boons and on me and the conditions on him are coming from the console. So if you wanted to play pure DPS Gailshot, you would run this trait right here, which is just, I Unga and therefore I Bunga. This trait is quickness, this trait is Unga Bunga. They play exactly the same and they gear exactly the same. That is a strength of the build. If you were in a group, you could, similar to Chrono, just change a trait and be providing a different role. That is something that this does good. I'm running full Berserkers with Runes of the Scholar armor, full Berserker jewelry. I am running bow with Force and Impact, and Berserker axes with Force and Impact. Over here, you can see all of this, and we're running an Aboga and a Carrion Devourer because Snowcrows told me to. So, how does this work? When you're in the airbow, anytime you use the 2, the 3, or the 4, you get 1 stack of this buff that looks like a feather. If you use the 5, you get 2 stacks of that buff that looks like a feather. When you get to 5 stacks, this skill flips over, and then you can click it and do big Unga Bunga shot, okay? Now, Mistral, when it is available, you want to drop Mistral and then shoot through it, weapon swap to the longbow, use your 2, weapon swap to the axes, use the 2 again, and 3 and 4. Now, I was talking, so I wasn't doing that quickly, but if you do it quickly enough, you can use basically the 2 skill of all 3 of your ranged weapons through the Mistral to buff all of them and get a lot of bonus damage in. Your T is basically more projectiles. Your G throws a tornado on something. They're both just damage buttons. They Unga, they Bunga. Carrion Devour and Aboga, more Unga, more Bunga. Nothing really crazy going on there. So what's to say? I mean, it's an archer. It is a ranged DPS. You can do damage from long range. You constantly have increased movement speed. It's baked into the kit, so you're always moving at a faster rate. So it's high damage, high mobility, high range. It is an agile sniper. In PvE, however, you're mostly stacked with your team if you're in a group content scenario. Things like strikes or raids or fractals, you're mostly stacked with the group, and ranged are basically melee with rare exceptions. So you're with your party, you're giving them quickness. You need to be stacked with them to give them quickness. What is the range of the quickness boon? 480. Better than some, worse than others. So 480 radius around you, so you need to stay that close to people in order to give them quickness. And you need to be close to them so they can give you things like might and and Fury and stuff like that. I will say in full Berserker's gear, I was hitting, let's see, with Fury, I'm at 94% crit chance. You have the improved version of Fury from Vicious Quarry, which makes Fury give you 40% crit, taking us from 54 up to 94, and that is with Ascended Food. So I would still need to tinker with a few more things. I'd probably reading more closely on Snow Crows to get 100% crit chance, so there's that. But again, if you wanted to go from just power pure damage to power while providing quickness, all you have to do is change that one trait. You don't have to change how you're playing, like your rotation. You don't have to change your pets. That is awesome. That is a cool thing about the class. And from there, what are the cons? What are the cons? Setting aside my own tastes in what I like to play, what are the cons of this? In PvE, the range is kind of a non-issue because you're usually stacked with your party, with rare exception. There are some exceptions, but they're rare. So let's compare this to the other thing it would be competing with, which for a ranger, that would be the Soul Beast and the Untamed. Now, the Untamed provides quickness. The Gailshot also provides quickness. It is really weird that the Gailshot wasn't given alacrity, in my opinion, because the ranger is the only one of the 9 base classes that does not have a DPS build that provides alacrity. It is literally the only one, and they gave us a second class that provides quickness. So I find that unusual, but here we are. So the Gailshot with quickness could be compared with the Untamed that provides quickness. Now, it's no secret that I've done multiple videos on Untamed. I think the Untamed open world build is one of the best ones in the game. It provides itself massive lifesteal and a heal every 10 seconds with its ambush mechanic. It provides some vigor, some regen, some protection, 10 stacks of might, and quickness to itself and nearby allies. Gailshot just does quickness. It has boon corruption on demand. It has an invulnerability on demand. It has a 10-man res in its back pocket for emergencies if your raid goes down. It has a projectile block on demand. It has lots of CC on demand. Gailshot has a smaller amount. And if you're using hammer and maces, which I prefer, it has stability on the hammer and stability on the maces on demand. The Gailshot has much more range. It has more movement speed by default, and that's it. It does do slightly more damage. Currently, the best Untamed quick Untamed on Snow Crows is doing 36k. The best quick Gailshot on Snow Crows is doing 41k. So Gailshot is doing slightly more damage in PvE. Feast or famine. That's something I wrote down. There are moments. Maybe you mess up your rotation. Maybe you were in the middle of casting Hawkeye, which has a cast time, and you got interrupted by something. A knockback happened, or the boss phased or something, or you accidentally weapon swapped too early. And when that happens, you feel like you're starving. You just have to auto for a while. Maybe you just weapon swap even though the Mistral combo is not lined up, and wait for these feathers to recharge because they take a minute. And it's really bad because other times you're just owning, you get Mistral down, you're just like 60k, weapon swap, 50k, weapon swap, 50k, and it feels really good. And then other times you make one mistake and it feels like you're paying for it for like the next 10 seconds as you see your name drop further and further down the damage meter. Another issue we had is in the beta, they had Mistral was a wall. It was like an energy wall and you shot through it. But let's say, I'm here and we make the energy wall and then something happens and the group has to move. Well, now I can't use the wall anymore. So they made it a bubble. And the bubble, you can throw it like that. And now I can shoot this guy from any direction and all those shots are getting buffed. That's fantastic. However, I'm not sure if any of you saw the problem there. There is an issue there. And there's one thing this thing does equally as Untamed, and it's troll your teammates. You can't see the ground well because it freezes the ground over. That's kind of neat, I guess, but at the same time, it almost caused us to wipe on Bone Skinner today. I was with a pug, I did the bubble. I should have this is as far away as you can throw the bubble, okay? That's the max range. So I had the bubble half under the Bone Skinner and half under the group. It was kind of like this, and the Bone Skinner does the red circles around us. I saw him lift his paw up, I moved, like 8 people didn't realize what he was doing because they couldn't see the red circles on the ground because of that snowy bubble. And they got microwaved. And in addition to that, other people think this is a projectile block and it's going to keep them safe. It's not. It's troll. It is possibly the first bubble in the game that's not a projectile block, and it makes you unable to see the red circles on the ground. So I like, it buffs projectiles. It doesn't block them. So as far as I know, this only affects you. I don't even know if this buffs teammates' projectiles. If it doesn't, teammates should not be able to see this at all. If this does not buff teammates' projectiles, just right there, case closed, make it so they can't see this thing, because it kills them in 2 different ways. And if it does buff their projectiles, then we just got to find a different solution than what it is now. I don't know. Maybe just like a light green ring on the ground, you know, that's not colored in the middle, something, I don't know. But the new Mistral, I would rather have the wall back, because the new Mistral is like, it trolls them as far as like, they think it's a projectile block, and it trolls them, they can't see red circles on the ground anymore because of it. I never thought I'd say this, but it makes the stink cloud from Untamed look preferable. And I dislike that one too, in terms of graphics. Don't have much else to say. It's very straightforward. It almost feels like Virtuoso. I'm just standing at long range and I'm a gun. That's it. The thing with like the Mistral stuff aside, it's basically you am gun. And as long as you're with your team, you know, maybe you're a short range gun in melee, maybe you're a long range gun. I would say, based on, you know, watching other streamers that have taken this into PvP and World v World, that's where it really seems like it shines. It is an extremely long range, extremely high mobility, extremely high damage build. And it's Ranger, so it's not glass. You know, Ranger has like the medium amount of hit points and armor. However, it's just a sniper. So in PvP and World v World, this thing excels. In PvE, after playing Quick Untamed for so long, this really felt like a poorer version. Like I showed my little list here. Like, these are all the things you trade and you gain range and movement speed. So it really felt to me like a poorer version. But you know, again, as I admit, I played it for 1 day. I did not care for it, so I put in the minimum amount of time to get like a solid understanding of it. And I'm probably not going to keep playing it past this point unless I get the urge to shoot people from very far away in PvP or something. So I turn the question over to you guys. What do you think about it? If you've got any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns, or comments about this build, and you know, something that you noticed about it that does really well that I just didn't see in the time I was on it, put it in the comment section down below and I will fight you there.